reached a record high. And I think what the biggest issue is, where the federal government should be helping, is at the border determining right away whether someone has a legitimate asylum case or not. We know that roughly 70% of the people who actually show up for court have their cases denied. We also know that so many more don't even show up for their court dates. Some even don't apply for asylum. And that's really...
Yeah, what up? It's your boy Rob coming back at you once again with another video. So before we get started, you already know what to do. If you're not subscribed to the channel, make sure you hit the bell icon twice. Smash the like button, share this video out to all of your followers, and let's get it cracking. Alright? So it seems to me that in today's times, people are more worried about the passport bros than the undocumented bros. But the people of New York are actually terrified of the undocumented bros. According to an article from Houston Chronicle, 70% of New Yorkers fear migrant crisis as Texas buses more migrants there, a poll finds. So we're gonna check this out. If you guys haven't seen the live stream that I did called Abbott versus Adams on this channel, I'd advise you guys to take a look at that live stream before you finish watching this one, because this has been an ongoing battle between the Democrats and Republicans that is causing inconvenience for their constituencies. The Republicans are doing a horrible job with border management, and the Democrat cities are having sanctuary cities which are impeding on the resource availability to the people there. Nothing works out for anybody in these situations, but it's an ongoing dick measuring contest between the Republicans and the Democrats, and each of those constituencies are loyal to their fanboys, but they're not loyal to their own selves, which in both cases, there's a little bit of cannibalism going. But nonetheless, we'll check this situation out, and you guys can let me know what your thoughts are. Now, if you ask me, this is a united effort between the Democrats and the Republicans, guised as a battle. But we all know that they're not actually battling. What they're doing is, if you notice, the Republicans are shipping all of their immigrants to all of their undocumented immigrants to Democrat areas, which we all know Democrat areas are majority black areas. Those Democrat areas are then absorbing these people into their population matrix, which is diluting the political and voting power of black people. Another thing that is doing is it's taking away from the jobs. And I don't know if you guys have watched TD Hip Hop Media's video about this, but it's already been proven that immigration has a negative effect on black people. So why you see black politicians like Lori Lightfoot and Eric Adams leading the charge for all of this is beyond me. But maybe you guys have some better insight that you could help me out with in the comment section. All right. So now here it says Washington. The vast majority of New York City voters see the number of asylum seekers arriving there. Many of them bust from Texas as a crisis and want the federal government to step in, according to a recent polling that indicates Governor Abbott's migrant busing has at least convinced many of the city's residents. Now, also pay attention to this, because we'll be going over this as well. Migrants bust from red states are costing New York City $1 billion. All right. So when they say that they don't have money for things like reparations, they do. They've got plenty of money. There's the proof right there. 70% of New York voters say the number of migrants arriving in the city, more than 40,000 since last year, is a crisis, according to a Quinnipiac University poll released this week. 63% do not believe New York has the ability to accommodate them, and 82% say the federal government needs to step in, the poll found. Since last summer, Texas has sent more than 5,200 asylum seekers to New York, one of a handful of Democrat-led cities that Abbott has targeted, along with Washington, D.C., Chicago, and Philadelphia. Other GOP states, including Florida, have sent them to New York as well. According to the New York Times, more than 43,200 migrants have arrived in New York, including over 1,600 last week, and about 2/3 of them remain in the city's care. City officials have estimated the cost to accommodate them will exceed $1 billion this year, according to the Times. So now what I want people to be able to do is I want people to reference this video, okay? Reference this video when it comes time for 2022 and these people are begging for your votes, and ask, what kind of $1 billion infusion are you going to put directly into the Black community? Because you infused $1 billion into the undocumented community. You know what I'm saying? So now here it says New York City Mayor Eric Adams says that the city is at a breaking point and has repeatedly asked for the Biden administration to step in and do more. There's a crisis right now, and that crisis should be coordinated by the national government, Adams said on CNN last month. The Quinnipiac poll suggests more voters agree with Adams and back some of his proposed fixes. 2/3 of voters approve of his calls for the federal government to ease work requirements, giving migrants the ability to obtain employment. Now, in the comment section, what I'm going to need you guys to do is tell me who these migrants will be directly in competition with when it comes to their obtaining employment. 65% agree with another of Adams' proposal to send some of the migrants to areas of upstate New York with shrinking populations, the poll found. The poll of 1,310 New York City registered voters was conducted on January 26th through 30th and carries a margin of error of plus or minus 2.7 percentage points. Okay, so the people in New York City are not very happy about these situations that are going on. I'll tell you one thing that I'm not happy with. I'm not happy that we're not getting any financial infusion. All right. If you guys recall, in New York City, Governor Kathy Hochul gave the AAPI community $20 million. This is costing New York City $1 billion, as you guys can see here on the screen. Migrants bust from Texas and other red states will cost New York City $1 billion. And not only is it costing New York City $1 billion, it's also going to cost a lot of people their jobs. And there's already a homeless problem in New York. You know what I'm saying? The mayor of New York City declared an emergency on Friday over the influx of migrants being bussed in by Texas and other Republican-led states, saying that the city is on pace to spend $1 billion on the services this crisis. All right. Democrat Mayor Eric Adams said that 61,000 people were in the city's shelters, the largest number in recorded history, and that 1 in 5 of them were asylum seekers who were simply dropped off without notice, coordination, or care. So now, again, this is taking a toll on the city's resources that is supposed to use for Americans who are homeless. You know what I'm saying? At this rate, the sheltered population could surpass 100,000 people by next year. Our right to shelter laws, our social services, and our values are being exploited for political gain, Adams said. If our city had coordination or even just cooperation from any of the states sending buses or more support from our partners, then maybe we could have budgeted, staffed, and allocated resources for these asylum seekers. Let me ask you guys a question. As tax-paying Americans in my chat, is that something that you want your tax dollars to go for? Is that what you voted for? If you're watching this on the live premiere, give me a thumbs up in the comment section. If you're not, then comment, lead a timestamp, and give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Okay. So now here it says Texas Governor Abbott, who has been at the forefront of the busing effort, has framed it as a means to ease the strain on the Texas border towns and call attention to President Joe Biden, who he and other Republicans say is doing little to curb a historic surge in migration at the southern border. As of August, the state had spent more than $14 million on the busing program. All right, so when it comes to Texas, even Texas is coming out of the pocket for this. They spent $14 million to bus these people all over the United States. You know what I'm saying? Sanctuary cities like New York City experience a fraction of what Texas border communities face every day, Abbott wrote Friday on Twitter, responding to the mayor's emergency declaration. We'll continue busing migrants to New York City, D.C., and Chicago to relieve our overwhelmed border towns until Biden does his job and secures the border. Okay. Adams' emergency declaration will allow the city to begin constructing humanitarian relief centers. All right. Now, what I find fascinating is that the New York City and California have been in a homeless crisis for a very, very long time, and they've never called on the government to help them do anything with that. But they're calling on the government to get all of this extra money to help with this migrant crisis. All right. So we do have the Quinnipiac poll here, and we can take a look at it real quick, and it's going to show exactly how the New Yorkers who were surveyed actually feel about these issues with the migrants being bussed in. All right. And if they see it as a concern. So now what it says here, and this was taken on February 1st of 2023, concerns about crime weigh on Mayor Eric Adams' approval ratings. Quinnipiac University, New York City poll finds influx of migrants to New York City is seen as a crisis. All right. So this is not something that is popular with New Yorkers. And if you're a New Yorker or somebody near or around the New York City metro area and you're a subscriber to my channel and you're watching this, let me know how you feel about this. Are you okay with this, or is it inconvenience? 2/3 of voters, 66% in New York City, think that crime is a very serious problem, according to a Quinnipiac University poll. Registered voters in New York City released today, down from a record high of 74% in February, but still one of the highest levels seen since the Quinnipiac University poll first asked this question in 1999. 26% of voters think crime in New York City is somewhat of a serious problem. 6% think crime is not a very serious problem, and 1% think that it is not a problem at all. Nearly 4 out of 10 voters, which is 39%, say they feel less safe in New York City compared to a year ago, while 8% say that they feel safer, and 53% say that they feel about the same. Crime, 41%, outranks all other issues as the most urgent issue facing New York City today, followed by affordable housing, 17%, and homelessness at 12%. Voters give Mayor Eric Adams his first negative job approval rating since taking office in 2022, with 37% approving of the way he's handling his job as mayor, 43% disapproving, and 20% not offering an opinion. So what you guys need to understand here is that as of right now, Mayor Eric Adams in New York has a negative approval rating. People in New York are not happy. Okay. In a Quinnipiac University poll in May of 2022, voters approved 43 to 37%, with 20% not offering an opinion. Asked specifically about the way Adams is handling crime in New York City, 36% of voters approve, while 57% disapprove. Okay. This compares to Quinnipiac University's May 2022 poll, when 37% of voters approved and 54% disapproved. In Quinnipiac University's February 2022 poll, voters approved 47 to 35% of the way Mayor Eric Adams was handling crime in New York City. Okay, so now people are not happy with the way that Mayor Eric Adams is handling issues. They're not happy with the way that he's handling crime. They're not happy with the way he's handling immigration. But what CNN and the Democrat media will do is they'll present this guy as if he's the savior of New York City. Remember, guys, when he said that he was the Biden of New York City? I guess he actually is the Biden of New York City, because his approval rating is horrible. So now here it says, in addition to crime, voters were asked about Mayor Eric Adams' handling of immigration issues. 39% approve, while 46% disapprove. Okay. The public schools, 35% approve, while 42% disapprove. Okay. The city budget, 32% approve, while 47% disapprove. Homelessness, 26% approve, while 61% disapprove. Here's my question. With numbers like that, how is this guy still the mayor? You know what I'm saying? Now, here's some information about how they feel about the migrant crisis. 7 out of 10 voters, think that it is a crisis for New York City that more than 40,000 migrants seeking sanctuary have arrived in the city last year, while 25% of voters do not think that it is a crisis. A majority of voters, 63%, do not think that New York City has the ability to accommodate the migrants seeking sanctuary, while 31% think that the city has the ability to accommodate them. 82% of voters think that the federal government has a responsibility to help New York City with the migrants seeking sanctuary, while 14% do not think that the federal government has a responsibility to help. So now here's my question. It's clear that the majority of New Yorkers are not happy with this. The majority of New Yorkers are not happy with this situation at all. Another thing that they're not happy with is they're not happy with the way it is being managed. That's the word I was looking for, managed. They're not happy with the way that this situation is being managed. My question is, why is the mayor doing things opposite of the way his people voted? That's the question. Let me know what you guys think about that in the comment section, okay? 2/3 of voters, 67%, approve of a proposal by Mayor Eric Adams to have the federal government ease work requirements, allowing migrants sanctuary the ability to obtain employment, while 27% disapprove. Now, this is an interesting statistic because what this says is that the people in New York City just kind of want to let this ease over. 2/3 of the voters, which is 67%, approve of a proposal by Mayor Eric Adams to have the federal government ease work requirements, allowing migrants seeking sanctuary to obtain employment, while 27% disapprove. Now, I want you guys to pay close attention to this paragraph right here. I want you to read it over, and I want you guys to answer for me in the comment section. Will that particular thing help or hurt Black people in New York City? Okay. Voters approve 65 to 26% of a proposal by Mayor Eric Adams to send some of the migrants seeking sanctuary to areas upstate New York with shrinking populations. Okay. So, I mean, there's a lot going on here. That is most of the poll when it comes to the issues with the migrants. And as you guys can see, people are not happy at all with the way that Mayor Eric Adams is handling this. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to look at an article that Fox News published, and this article actually has a video, and in this video they talk about Eric Adams asking President Biden for some help with this migrant situation. All right, so let's check this out and see exactly what they're talking about here, shall we?
We are not pointing the finger at El Paso. We're not pointing the finger at Houston. We're pointing the finger where it should be pointed, and that's our national government. This is a national problem. We must have real immigration reform.
Wow. New York City Mayor Adams calling on the federal government for help with the migrant surge as he visits El Paso. For a first-hand look, it comes as the president's border crisis hits another record, with agents encountering more than 250,000 migrants in December alone. That's the highest month in history. New York GOP Congresswoman Nicole Malliotakis joins us now. Congresswoman, thanks for joining the program this morning.
Good morning.
So there's a lot of talk now, but it seems like now that the migrants were shipped to New York and other liberal cities, they're pointing the finger now at the federal government. Why now?
Well, look, the mayor is right in the sense that he's saying this is a national crisis, but he needs to say that it is a national crisis created by Joe Biden. Joe Biden put in place the policies via executive order that created this mess. This was not happening under President Trump. It was not happening under
So now, according to this Congresswoman, Joe Biden put these policies in order via executive order. Now, remember when he was on the phone with the civil rights leaders, and the civil rights leaders asked him for things specific for Black people and were asking about executive orders? What did Joe Biden say at that point about executive orders? He said that that's something that, quote unquote, he couldn't do. And if you guys remember my videos, and if you remember other people's videos like TD Hip Hop Media, who were talking about executive orders and things that could have been done, we all debunked what Joe Biden said and proved that Joe Biden could do these things. This also substantiates that because it shows that when Joe Biden wants to do something, his pen is pretty damn powerful.
President Obama, and it has reached a record high. And I think what the biggest issue is, where the federal government should be helping, is at the border, determining right away whether someone has a legitimate asylum case or not. We know that roughly 70% of the people who actually show up for court have their cases denied. We also know that so many more don't even show up for their court dates, and some even don't apply for asylum. And that's really what is inundating the system. The mayor also has incentivized illegal immigration. You saw yesterday how people were saying they want to go to New York City with the mayor because they hear that New York City is housing the migrants and they're providing for their needs. Look, I represent a very diverse ethnic community. So many immigrants, including my own parents, live in my district, and they're saying, gee, well, I came.
So again, pay attention to how the United States government is starting to have a lot of immigrant faces in high places. You know what I'm saying?
To this country, I followed the rules, I did everything right. No one paid for my housing. So they're wondering why they need to pay for the housing to the tune of nearly $2 billion this is going to cost New York City residents. The mayor has incentivized this. He's using New York City's generous right to shelter law, which was meant for New York City's citizens that need housing, our own homeless, and yet he's inundating the system as well. And taxpayers are now looking at cuts in major fronts, fire and police.
It just doesn't make sense when you have all these homeless.
What actually doesn't make sense is why they can't just fly those people back to their country the way that they did the black immigrants. Here's my question for everybody in the comment section, and please make sure you guys leave a comment. And if you guys are watching on the replay, make sure that you guys timestamp this. Why is it that the government can swiftly round black immigrants up on horses and ship them back to Haiti, but they seem to have an issue doing this when doesn't even have to be a plane involved? I mean, clearly they bust these people here, they can bust them back to Mexico. So why are they so urgently getting black immigrants out of the country with horses and whips, but they just let these people use up all of the resources? That's my question.
Folks all across the street in New York City, they get no housing, they get no food. It's just nonsense. I want to get your comments on this classified documents. 5 more documents were found at Biden's residence. What is Congress going to do? Is there some investigation from the congressional level expected on this? And why is the DOJ escorting the Biden administration and his lawyers everywhere? Why is there no raid at his home?
Yeah, there's definitely a double standard, and this is exactly what Representatives Comar and Jim Jordan are going to get to the bottom to. We don't like this two-tiered justice system, and that's why we created a select committee to focus on that specifically, how these agencies, whether it be the DOJ or the FBI, are treating Republicans and Democrats differently. I think the question that we really want to get to the bottom to, in addition to that, is what were in these files, who had access to them, and I think it's particularly concerning to the American people, considering that Hunter Biden has all these unsavory relationships with foreign entities and profited over those relationships. And he had access to this home, was renting the home and living in the home, according to his records. And so I think that is the thing that we want to get to the bottom to, because we do deserve transparency. And the fact that this was held from the American people when this was found prior to the November election, I think is equally disturbing, and a sense of interference in our election system.
The American people are going to be watching, especially Republican voters that were promised that these investigations were going to take place. They want you guys to deliver from an economic standpoint, but they want to see you guys check this two-tier justice system. So Congresswoman, we'll be following up. Thanks so much.
So there's that.
Thank you.
There's that. Okay. So now here, let me just shut this off real quick. Make sure it don't come back on. There we go. All right. So now here it says New York City Mayor Eric Adams slept at a migrant facility in Brooklyn on the coldest night of 2023 to promote the new housing option after some migrants recently refused to leave a hotel. So now here's my question. Why are you sitting up here refusing to leave a hotel? After you've been given free room and board, why are you refusing to leave? Let me ask you guys a question. As an American citizen, what would happen to you if you decided to stay at a hotel past the time it was time for you to check out? What would happen to you? spent the coldest night of the year at Brooklyn Cruise Terminal with homeless hero and advocate Shams DeBaron and AME Eddie Gibbs, Adams posted on Twitter on Saturday. Our brothers are being kept warm, and the team working here is giving new meaning to the words love thy neighbor. What about the neighbors in New York City? The mayor's post included videos and photos of him at the facility, showing him sleeping on a cot, dining with migrants, and playing video games. That's nice. They're having a little sleepover, a little slumber party there. Adams said he chose the coldest night of 2023, when there was a low of 12 degrees in the city, to spend at the facility to show how warm and welcoming it is. What we saw is what we have seen since the beginning of this crisis. Individuals who are grateful to the greatest city in the world for providing them the opportunity to work towards the American dream. I'd like to be clear that the facilities at the Brooklyn Cruise Terminal are providing the same services to asylum seekers as every other humanitarian relief center in the city. And the team at the terminal is giving new meaning to the words love thy neighbor, Adams said, WABC reported. Late last month, a group of migrants who were staying at the Watson Hotel in Midtown Manhattan, free of charge, refused to leave the hotel. It seems like these migrants already understand the American way of entitlement, and even protested by sleeping in the streets after a city official said that they would be housed at the Brooklyn Cruise Terminal. If they start acting like that, they should have just sent them right back. Some of the migrants did leave the hotel for the migrant facility in Brooklyn, while others refused to leave and rallied outside the building alongside migrant activists. Adams said at the time that the housing in Brooklyn was hospitable, despite claims that there was a lack of heat and bathroom space at the facility. I bet you it's better than it would have been outside, which is where they would be. You know what I'm saying? This weekend, we began the process of moving single adult men from the Watson Hotel to Brooklyn Cruise Terminal as we transition the hotel to meet the large number of asylum-seeking families with children, Adams said in a statement at the time. More than 4,200 asylum seekers have arrived in New York City since last spring, and we continue to surpass our moral obligations as we provide asylum seekers with shelter, food, healthcare, education, and a host of other services, the mayor continued. Texas Governor Greg Abbott set off a firestorm of criticisms from Democratic leaders in New York last year when he ordered buses of migrants be taken from overwhelmed border communities to various northern sanctuary cities, including the Big Apple. Adams has since pleaded with the White House for more assistance from the government as the migrant population grows. I have a Republican governor dumping on my city, Adams said last month. I have a Democratic governor dumping on my city. That is where the national government should have stepped in and said, wait a minute, let's coordinate this effort. And, you know, honestly, the coordination of this effort would be to improve immigration policy as well as secure the borders so that we don't have all of these people illegally just coming into the country. I don't understand this. If I illegally cut in line to get on a roller coaster at an amusement park, the punishment for me would be more severe than the punishment for these people illegally coming into the country. They're not paying taxes. They're not doing anything to contribute to the country. And what they are contributing to is crowding and taking up the jobs. And I don't think that this is what any of the taxpayers voted for. If this is something that you guys voted for and you guys approve of, give me a thumbs up and let me know in the comment section. If it's not, give me a thumbs down. Okay. So now what's going on is that migrants are abandoning New York City and they're heading to Canada with taxpayer-funded bus tickets. So I wouldn't be surprised if what's going on is one of the things that Eric Adams had said that he was going to do is bus these people to upstate New York. All right. So once they get to upstate New York, if you're familiar with that area, it's very close to the Canadian border. These people are probably getting to upstate New York. And once they get to upstate New York, they're like, well, I'm just going to go ahead and go to Canada then. You know what I'm saying? And then they just go ahead and go to Canada, which I don't understand how they're getting into Canada, because ever since C-19, Canada has strict rules in place as far as coming into Canada. So I don't know how that works. Disgruntled migrants fed up with the Big Apple's crime. Oh my god. These disgruntled migrants are fed up with the crime in New York City. They're part of the crime. They're not here legally. And grime are taking off to the Great White North on bus rides paid for by New York's taxpayers, the Post has learned. National Guard soldiers have been helping distribute tickets at the Port Authority bus terminal in Manhattan to migrants who want to head upstate before crossing into Canada, several migrants said. Venezuelan native Raymond Pena and his family arrived at a gas station bus stop in Plattsburgh, New York, about 20 miles south of the Canadian border at 4 a.m. on Sunday. The military gave me and my family free bus tickets, Pena said. I'm going to Canada for a better quality of life for my family, all right? A National Guard source confirmed that soldiers at the bus terminal were directing migrants to workers who hand out the free tickets. Mayor Eric Adams' administration pays various companies that run programs for migrants that include reticketing so that they can travel to other cities, a City Hall source said. Various nonprofits, including Catholic charities, also help migrants who want to flee Gotham, the source said. These people are contributing to the crime in New York City and then turning around and complaining about it and acting uppity, talking about they don't want to be there anymore. They need to send these people back to where they came from, for real, for real. If they don't like it there, they got a free bus ticket trip to New York, and then they're getting a free trip to Canada. There's Americans that can't even go to Canada. A spokesperson for Catholic Charities Community Services said it's helped thousands of new migrants, including some who reported their desire to relocate to other cities, and Catholic Charities provided some assistance for their travel expenses. Now, I want to make this clear. I don't have a problem with immigrants, all right? But circumventing immigration policy is a crime. And also putting people who are not American before American taxpayers, as far as I'm concerned, is treason. You know what I'm saying? As far as I'm concerned, that is treason. You know what I mean? That is a betrayal by the United States government to the people here. So now here it says destinations are limited to within the U.S. due to restrictions that prohibit the migrants from leaving the country while on immigration patrol pending the outcome of asylum proceedings, a source said. But word has spread among the migrant community that Canada, where Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has touted the country's proud and long-standing tradition of welcoming people seeking safety, is the place to go. So now what's going on is that people are going past the United States to get to Canada. You know what I'm saying? Migrants routinely tear up their American immigration documents while traveling from Plattsburgh to the Canadian border, with the Post seeing scraps of paper with references to the Department of Homeland Security and Immigration and Customs Enforcement on the floor of a shuttle van. The van, which has the words Frontera, or Spanish for border, painted on its sides, is one of 3 operated by Chad's shuttle services. The driver, Tyler Tambini, whose girlfriend's brother owns the company, said passengers arrive like clockwork on the 5 buses from New York City that stop in Plattsburgh each day. There's got to be at least 100 people per day, said Tambini. I do this all day. They get dropped off and I take them the rest of the way. Tambini said his employer charged single migrants $40 to $50 each and families $90. Taxi drivers who charge single migrants $70 each compete for business by rushing to the buses to solicit passengers and help them with their luggage. The Post accompanied several groups of migrants who rode Tambini's van from the Mountain Mart gas station to cul-de-sac at the end of rural Roxham Road, just steps from the Canadian border. After trudging north along a snow-covered path and through a break in the concrete barrier, the migrants were stopped by Mounties stationed in an elaborate complex of metal sheds. You have entered Canada. You are under arrest, a Mountie said. Take everything from your pockets and put it in your bags. Only De Niro in your pockets. Mounties then escorted the migrants up an enclosed ramp and into a shed for processing. Peruvian native Susie Sanchez Sozarno, who is 33, crossed the Roxham Road into Canada with her husband and 2 daughters early on Friday morning after one of the girls, who was 15, saw a video of other migrants doing it on TikTok. Solzarno said the family entered U.S. from Mexico in December and later spent about a month in a Marriott hotel in Queens that's being used as an emergency shelter. I wanted to live in New York because I thought it would be a better future for my daughter, she said. But as the days went by, I saw insecurity, many homeless people, many people who shout and are disrespectful, and many people on drugs. Solzarno said she sold candy in the subway system for almost 2 weeks to pay for their trip. I'm going to Canada for the safety and future of my girls, she said. I only ask God that everything goes well, and Canada is not like the United States. So not only are these people ungrateful, they don't even like the United States, man. They don't even mess with us like that. Venezuelan native Manuel Rondon, who is 26, arrived in Plattsburgh around 4 a.m. Saturday and said he decided to leave the city after getting kicked out of the Row NYC Hotel Center near Times Square and relocated to a homeless shelter in Brooklyn. Rondon described the shelter as okay, except for the American residents. So, I mean, these immigrants that come here are xenophobic, man. These immigrants that are coming here have an anti-American sentiment. I think that's very important. If they have an anti-American sentiment, then you already know that they have a pronounced anti-Black American sentiment. A lot of Americans use drugs there, he said. I feel like Canada will be safer. It's a much quieter country than America. And my question is, how do you know that? You've never even been to Canada. And if you don't like things the way they are outside of where your home is, the thing that would make the most sense would be for you to go back to your home. Roden, who crossed the border about an hour after getting to Plattsburgh, said he knew 8 other Venezuelans who made the same trip. They all got free tickets. It was the same process, he said. It took them 3 days through customs. They are all safe. They live in Montreal. Rondon, a painter and construction worker, said that all the information is on social media and that he hopes to quickly get a work permit in Canada. It is very difficult to get papers in America, he said. I need to work, so I'm going to Canada. Under federal rules, migrants can't apply for work permits until 30 days after formally seeking asylum and aren't eligible for permits for another 150 days after that. Adams has called for the White House to speed up that process and grant the city $1 billion. So Adams is asking the White House to speed up the process and grant the city $1 billion in emergency aid to provide migrants with housing and other services, which the mayor has said could cost double that amount. So it could actually end up costing $2 billion. Last month, White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre refused to comment to fully granting Adams' request, saying that only unspecified new funding would, quote unquote, be available to border cities and those cities receiving an influx of migrants. So now here's my question. Where is this money magically coming from? This is money that they say that they don't have when it comes to dealing with us. But now magically, this money is available. My question to you guys is, where is the money coming from? But Hisner pressed Biden for a meeting on the subject after the president held a news conference in Manhattan last week, a source said at the time. As of Wednesday, an estimated 43,900 plus migrants had flooded into the city since the spring, with more than 28,400 living in 83 hotels and 5 humanitarian emergency response and relief centers established in larger hotels and the Brooklyn cruise terminal. Asked for comment on the bus tickets, Adams' press secretary Fabian Levy said, "As we have said since the beginning of this crisis, our goal is to help connect asylum seekers who want to move to a different location with friends, family, and/or community, and if needed, re-ticket to help people get their financial destination, if not New York City." City Hall did not respond to questions about the cost of the re-ticketing. A spokesperson for Governor Kathy Hochul said that neither the state nor the National Guard was paying for bus tickets and referred the Post to the city for additional information. At the request of the city, National Guard members have been deployed to the Port Authority bus terminal where they greet people upon arrival. answer questions, and direct them to services, including transportation options that they seek. Spokesperson Hazel Crampton Hayes. All right. So what this shows is that Mayor Eric Adams is not only willing to sleep in blistering cold weather, but he's also willing to petition the United States federal government for billions of dollars to accommodate migrants, illegal migrants, who not only have a disdain for America, they have a disdain for New York City, and they also have a disdain for America and are only using American facilities to get to Canada. Why are you paying for these people to come to the United States, not contribute anything, and just use the United States as a pit stop to get to Canada? Those are the questions that I'd like people to answer. And another thing that I'd like people to keep in their heads is keep in your head the dollar amount of money being spent, and then ask yourself, well, why is it that we can't get our money? So with that being said, you have to ask yourself the question, why is it that people are more worried about the passport bros than they are about the undocumented bros? I will catch you all on the next video. All right, make sure that you guys are subscribed, hit the bell icon twice, and share this video out to all of your followers. Peace.